Um, as we've learnt, genre is sort of developing more and more as time goes on. This is by the content creators as well as the audience receiving the works. They dictate what they want, um, and then those filmmakers then have to produce a piece of work that will sort of meet the demands. And because of TV programming these days, as a constant stream of different genres, sort of the lines between them are becoming more and more blurred, which means that genres had to be constantly developed. I think ours does this in a way by having that casual, friendly tone. A few years ago, a formal tone would have been expected, and the interviews would have been much longer, whereas today, and our documentary is much faster, because we live in a world where people are after speed, sort of they don't want to be bored at all. So we've kind of reflected that by having very fast intercuts, having more and more cutaways in there, just to provide a variety of different things on screen, so we keep the audience's attention and we don't like lose people because, say for instance, the person that's Costa was speaking too long. It becomes boring, by illustrating our point with cutaways, another convention of the genre. We were able then to produce something which was more fast paced, included much like upbeat music, something that was entertaining as well as informative, because at the minute, the documentaries are having to include elements of, say, dramas or even current events programming. The lines between those two are becoming more and more faded because nobody wants to watch a documentary about something that went on for a while ago compared to something that is more in the moment, and now.
One of the conventions of documentary is the use of chroma key. This is where you take something like the blue screen we have here, and replace the colour with a different sort of a different image, or you can have a piece of video footage in the background. Um, Basically, because this is all one colour and the lighting removes any shadows, it's very easy to replace that singular colour. You just got to make sure the person isn't wearing anything similar. We actually chose not to use the chroma key for our documentary, just because when looking at documentaries during the research and planning stage, we saw uses of chroma key and it did look very constructed, very technological. Like we watched one discussing Lara Croft and her role in society, which obviously fit very well because it was a game that they were discussing and therefore technology was a big part of that. But for ours, it was something much more simple, so it was just coffee and how it's enjoyed in the UK. We felt we needed a more naturalistic sort of view, so it's very casual, which is why we didn't use it. We chose the Defy convention, in that we didn't use it, just because the concept of coffee and going out for coffee has become such a regular thing. We didn't want anything to look out of place, whereas documentaries sort of that highlight technological advancements, they probably use it to display graphics, that kind of thing. For our interviews, we felt the mise en scène was fine, just interviewing the person in their place of work. If the coffee was there, customers, anything they were discussing when talking about the actual environment they worked in was there. So that's why we felt we could defy convention in this. I think it does really work. I think if we had anything sort of staged like that, it would kind of look out of place, especially when putting all the interviews together. I just think it worked better than possibly putting a background coffee beans in. It's possibly something we could have looked at and developed, but ultimately we did decide just to move away from that convention and do our own thing.
Another way in which we attempted to defy convention was to not use reconstruction, or dramatization in our documentary. This was again because all the naturalistic things were there in our mise en scène and in the environments that we went to. The only example of reconstructing reality that we used was possibly to gain some of the cutaways. We had to make the coffee ourselves, which otherwise wouldn't have been done. So yeah, this was a very simple kind of reconstruction, not like the dramatisation and reconstructions in more complicated documentaries, which display points, making it simple for the audience to watch, explain things further, and sort of add an element of sort of entertainment to it, which we sort of didn't include in ours. However, it is possible that we may have included this later on, as we only produced the first 5 minutes of the documentary, and the full film would have been half an hour. There were possibilities for us to plan reconstruction, but it did not fit within our 5 minute limit.